Greetings and welcome to Intro to Python Episode 2 with Gwinnett County Public Library. In this episode, we're going to review a little of what we covered in Episode 1, mainly if statements, and then we'll get into how to debug a bit and some methods. And we'll finish up with some lists. So let's get started. On my screen, I have a blank Replit. Replit is an online IDE that you can access. Check out Intro to Python Episode 1 on our YouTube account and see how to set that up. So let's go ahead and lead off with an if statement. That's where we left off in Episode 1. So with this if statement, we're going to continue with some user input, and let's continue to think in terms of a text-based adventure game. So here I want to get the user to tell me whether they want to go left or right. So I'm just going to create a variable that holds their answer. I'm going to call it decision, or let's just call it response. That's easier, I think. So we'll just do response equals, and remember we use input. Would you like to go left or right? Choose carefully. ... All right. Alrighty, so now we have our response variable, which will be user input, and we can run that just to see if it works. Would you like to go left or right? Choose carefully, and of course I'll say left, and nothing happens. Why? Because we haven't created our if statement, which responds to whether the user entered left or right. So let's do that now. Let's have some fun with it. We'll say if response equal, and remember when we're checking to see if their response is equal to something, it's going to be equal. Rule of thumb, if you see one equal sign, like when we created this response, just think of it as you're assigning something to response, whereas the equal is checking if something is equal to. And an easy way to remember that is if you do exclamation point equal, that means it does not equal to. Okay. So we need equal, and we'll say left. And we need our colon, and by default Python is going to indent the next line, which is important because everything that's indented is going to be part of that code block. That's the then, right? If this, then what? So we're just going to say print you turn left and find a golden key on the ground. How cool. Let's do that. Okay. And now I'm going to line up with the if statement because I'm going to do an else if. And in Python, we do elif. Just think of it as elf with an I in the middle there. Elif response equal right. And we want to make sure that we have left and right in quotes because that's a string. Whatever the user types in with this input that's assigned to response is going to be a string. Okay, so we have to make sure that it's equal to a string. Okay, print you turn right and encounter a zombie. Not cool. Oh no. Alright, let's do that. Okay, so pretty bare bones, just a few lines of code. We're going to be getting the user input. It's going to be assigned to response. It's going to check response next to left. If it's left, you turn left and find a golden key on the ground. How cool. If response, well, I already found a typo. It's not response, it's response. Else if response equal right, print you turn right and encounter a zombie. Not cool. Oh no. So let's test it. Would you like to go left or right? Choose carefully. Left. You turn left and find a golden key on the ground. How cool. Run it again. Type in right. You turn right and encounter a zombie. Not cool. Oh no. Alright, so as a programmer, I got it the way I want it. So I'm going to let a friend take over here and type in whether they want left or right, right? Now I don't actually have a friend here, but we'll just say, hypothetically. So I'm showing off my cool program and I'm like, would you like to go left or right? Choose carefully. And they're going to say, okay, I want to go left. Ah, but nothing happened, right? And the reason for it is because left is all capitalized. And in my else statement, in my if and else if statement, we have lowercase left. Python is case sensitive. So we have to take this into consideration when we write our code. So how do we fix that? Well, there's multiple ways we can do it. First, okay, so it's not running anymore. Perfect. So I'm going to go back to my code, and what I'm going to do is add a method to this, okay? And after the input statement, I'm going to put a period and type in LO lower. Ooh, but we want that lowercase. Lower open close parentheses. Don't worry about what the open close parentheses are right now. Just know that this is how you would take whatever they type in and make it all lowercase. So, would you like to go left or right? Choose carefully. Left. You turn left and find a golden key on the ground. How cool. So what this did, whatever they type in, it's going to make it all lowercase. And we can check this because the right side over here, right, my shell, console, whatever you want to call it, is still active. So I can type in response, but we want lowercase, response, and you see that left, right? They typed in left, but it made it lowercase. So that's one way that you can fix that. Now, let's say in our code, instead of lowercase left and right, we did all caps. Well, instead of doing lower, we can do upper. Now if I run this, and I'm just going to do lowercase now. I'm going to respond in lowercase. Type in, we'll do right this time. Right. You turn right and encounter a zombie. Not cool. Oh no. And we can check this, of course. I can type in response and see that it capitalized what I typed in. So something that's really neat. So let's now think, what else could a user do that throws off our program? So we're going to run it, and I'm going to type in space left. Nothing happens. I did everything I needed to do. Capital letters matches with response, but when you use user input, it takes everything that they put in. So if I put space left, then that is what it's assigned to response. And you can check because we'll type in response and see that there is a space and then left. So the cool thing about methods is you're not just limited to one. I have period upper, but I can also do period strip, open close parentheses. And what that's going to do is it's going to take all of the excess space in the front and any excess space in the back and remove it. So let's try it now. And let's do right. Let's go ahead and do space, 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 right, space, space, space. You turn right and encounter a zombie. Not cool. Oh no. Let's check it. Response. And see that it stripped everything in the front and the back. So now we've taken into account possible inputs that a user can enter. Now we're going to move on, well, kind of move on from if statements and kind of continue the game. We'll incorporate some lists and how to modify lists, and we'll keep working with if statements. Yeah, let's just do that. Okay. So let's continue. I'm going to put a couple spaces after the if, maybe a couple spaces after the else if, and let's keep the game going. So if the user went left, they find a golden key on the ground. So let's give them another decision. And I'm just going to continue to use response as my variable. You don't have to do that. The neat thing about Python is that you can reassign values to a variable. So let's just say I had a variable that says name and I assign Bob to it. Well, later on in my script, I can say name equals Jennifer, and name will be Jennifer. It'll override Bob, okay? So I'm just going to use response just to keep things simple. Response equals, and we're going to get some user input. So input, do you want to pick up the key? And we're going to look for a yes or no. Something I like to do is prompt the user with that you're looking for a Y or an N. That way, you don't have to take into account yes, yeah, no, nah. You just have straight up Y or N. So I'm going to ask them if they want to pick up the key, and we'll say if response equal Y, and we need our colon. It'll automatically indent. If it doesn't automatically indent, you probably forgot the colon, okay? So if response equal Y, print you pick up the beautiful golden key. We'll say, yeah, this is how we'll incorporate lists. And put it in your backpack. All right. So I'm mentioning that I picked up the golden key and put it in my backpack, but my game doesn't have an inventory yet, right? A backpack. So a good way to use an aspect of Python, we'll just say, yeah. So a good way to represent a backpack in Python, it's going to be a list. And to make a list, and I'm just going to create a list here in the beginning. It's similar to if you were to create a variable. I'm going to say backpack equal, and what separates it from being a variable is that when we assign something to it, we're going to put it in brackets, and you can assign more than one thing. Of course, you can choose to have no items. You can choose to have one item. You can have 4 items. You can have as many items as you want. But let's say starting off, we'll just say $5. So we have $5 and a book. Okay. And that's our backpack, the contents of our backpack. Now, I just picked up a golden key because I went left and chose to pick it up. So let's add that key to the backpack. So in order to add something to a list, we're going to use append, okay? So I'm going to say backpack, period, append, key. Let's capitalize it. Cool. Key. All right. And here I'm just going to print the contents of my backpack. So I'm just going to type in backpack. And there we go. So just to review before I hit play, it's going to ask if I want to go left or right. Regardless of whether I use lowercase or uppercase, it's going to match it up to uppercase. All caps. It's going to say you turn left and find a golden key on the ground. How cool. It's going to ask if I want to pick up the key. I'm going to type in Y. It's going to say you pick up the beautiful golden key and put it in your backpack. And then we're going to use append key to the backpack. So it's going to add it to the backpack. And then it's going to print the contents of the backpack. But before I run it, I'm going to go ahead and print backpack before we even ask user input so that you can see the beginning state of the backpack and then after we pick up the key. So I'm going to hit run. First line, contents of the backpack here in the brackets, $5 and book, $5 and book. Would you like to go left or right? Choose carefully. I'll say left in all lowercase. The methods will capitalize it. You turn left and find a golden key on the ground. How cool. Do you want to pick up the key? Why? You pick up the beautiful golden key and put it in your backpack. And then I chose to print out the contents of my backpack. Got $5, book, key. Okay. Now we need to, we'll use remove now. So I showed how to do append to add to a list. Now I'm going to show how you remove something. Let's go back to our decision on whether or not we want to pick up the key. So we'll say elif response equal no, and print that was a mistake. You will probably find a locked door soon. Fail. And you dropped your book. Oh no. All right. So what we can do now, after this print statement, I can say backpack, period, remove. What do I want to remove? I want to remove the book. And it's always a sad day when you drop a book or lose a book. So we'll go ahead and run. Actually, before I run it, let's also print the contents of the backpack. Say print backpack. We'll print backpack after I remove the book. So we're going to run it. Prints the current state of the backpack, $5 and book. Would you like to go left or right? I'll say left. Do you want to pick up the key? No. That was a mistake. You'll probably find a locked door soon. Fail. And you dropped your book. Oh no. And then there's $5. That's the only thing in our backpack. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. So just a quick review. we've shown how to create a list. Of course, we're using print statements as well to print out a list here. We are assigning user input to a variable. In this case, the response is the variable. Now we have a if statement, which checks uh, the contents of response. This is left. It's all capitalized, but it's okay if the user uses all lowercase because now it's going to capitalize it with our methods up here, right? We did another print statement. We reassigned a value to response. So at this point, response is no longer left. If we went left, response would be equal to y if they chose yes, right? Y. So we print out a nice little statement that they picked up a golden key. We appended the key to the backpack and then printed it out to show that in fact it did add to our backpack. Then we have our else if, and again, noticed how if and else if are on the same, they're both indented there, right? And notice that you can nest ifs in with other ifs, because we have an if statement here. We start off with the if, and within this if, right, if they went left, I said right, but you know what I mean, right. So the user entered left, so we're on this path. So this if statement is part of this path. So that's why it's not lined up. Now this if and else if are lined up because they're your options, right? So that's why. So always think about your pairs or just all of your ifs. If you look at line 7, if all the way to the left, the else if all the way to the left. This else if and this if are the first choice that the user has. Now we have an if and elif, which are if the user went left. The more you do it, the more it'll make sense. So that's a recap of what we've done so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out everything below the backpack. So I'm just going to, and remember we can comment multiple lines by doing quote, 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 just making a quote sandwich. So everything in between those triple quotes is now commented out. If I run my program, nothing happens. And now I want to show how to do an if statement with a list. Okay, so we can check if the contents of a variable are equal to user input, but we can also use an if statement if, let's say, a value is part of a list. Okay, so I'm going to say if, we'll say if $5, right? Because we have the $5 in backpack. This is the cool thing about Python. It's very clean. It's just like if we were speaking to each other. If $5 are in the backpack, right? If $5 in backpack, we'll say response equals, do you want to use $5 to buy a chicken sandwich? Okay, yeah, let's roll with that. But we're missing something here, right? I'm saying response equals, do you want to use $5 to buy a chicken sandwich? Pause it and see if you can figure out what's missing. Remember, I'm trying to get user input. Excellent work. I'm missing the input. All right, input. Now we're rocking and rolling. So we have if $5 in backpack, response, input. But let's make it a little cooler. Let's do print. You encounter, you stumble upon your favorite fast food restaurant. And we'll say, if $5 in backpack, do you want to use $5 to buy a chicken sandwich? Okay. And I'm just going to say else, which, remember, if you're just dealing with anything else, in this case, we just want, if they have $5, they can buy a chicken sandwich if they choose to. But if they don't, it's just a either they do or they don't. We can just use an else. We don't have to do else if, because else will cover all the other scenarios. So else, I'm just going to print, so sad, you could have really, let's see, you could have had a delicious chicken, gotta spell it right though, chicken sandwich. Oh no. All right. All right. So the logic here, we're going to print out, let's print out the current state of the backpack. We'll do that up here. So we'll do print backpack. Okay. And actually, just to make this cleaner, everything that I commented out, I'm just going to cut and I'm going to put it down here just to make things cleaner so I can just stay zoomed in here at the top. And I'm putting spaces here. That's just to make things a little cleaner. You don't have to put the spaces. The spaces don't mean anything. Okay. So let's print and stop. Okay. So I have $5 and a book. You stumble upon your favorite fast food restaurant. Do you want to use $5 to buy a chicken sandwich? Yes. Cool. And of course, we haven't created a situation where if you spend the $5, you have a response like, yay, your stomach is happy, or anything like that. I'll let you do that after you watch this video to practice. Keep the game going, okay? Now, let's say, because right now everything's perfect. We have $5 in our backpack, so we're presented with an option of buying our favorite chicken sandwich. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to create a line that says print you dropped your money somewhere and can't find it. Oh no. And then we're still going to stumble upon our favorite fast food restaurant, but we don't have our $5 anymore. But the code thinks we still have our $5 because we have not told it that we lost our $5. So let's use what we just learned. We'll say backpack. Gotta spell it right. Backpack, period, remove. And then in the parentheses, I'm going to put that $5. And now we do not have the $5. And of course, I'm just going to go ahead and type in print backpack so we can see that it was removed from the backpack. Let's run it. All right. So it says $5 book. You dropped your money somewhere and can't find it. Oh no. You stumble upon your favorite fast food restaurant. So sad. You could have had a delicious chicken sandwich. Oh no. And then the contents of the backpack, which is a book, because we dropped the $5. Okay, so that's just a little exercise of incorporating lists and how you can use the contents of a list in the if statements. Very powerful. Now stay tuned. If you enjoyed episode 2 and you didn't watch episode 1, I highly recommend you watch episode 1. But if you watch episode 1, episode 2, and really enjoy what you've seen, stay tuned. We'll be releasing episode 3 very soon. And Also, I want to let you know that Gwinnett County Public Library offers book librarians virtually. So if you're interested in continuing your Python journey, really as far as you want to go, you can schedule a, a book librarian session with a Learning Lab specialist, and we can help you get where you want to be. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Keep practicing. Remember, uh, the best way to just improve your skills is just to set aside time every day and just practice, practice, practice. And I hope you check out episode 3 very soon. Take care.